But I just found out, and I got a great present right before I go to bed, that there is a reply brief in the federal case ready to dismiss Disney's case by the district. So I'm going to be reviewing that as soon as I wake up tomorrow morning.
Oh, fun.
So that's going to be fun stuff. Disney lost their attempt to dismiss the state case. Now they're flipping the script. Florida's like, oh, actually, F you. Once that does, their narrative is destroyed, and they will absolutely get wrecked under Florida law.
Obviously, nobody wanted to touch the 800-pound gorilla in the room of the Florida lawsuits, but fortunately, we have Andrew here because we're going to touch it.
Zero comments on that, but we're going to comment on it.
We're going to touch it a lot. All right, Andrew, why don't you fill folks in on the recent ongoings of the Reedy Creek situation?
Sure. So the only thing I really heard about Florida and Disney World was saying, oh, there's a
good afternoon and welcome to the Walt Disney Company third quarter 2023 financial results.
All right, there we go. Here, I'm going to mute it.
We're doing it again. Okay. Yeah, the only thing I heard was like the softening of the Florida market, but that was pretty much it in terms of what I heard about like Florida. But about the lawsuits, let's go break down as the status. Right now, there's two lawsuits. There's a federal lawsuit, which was filed by Disney. They raced to the courthouse. They got it in there first. So that is Disney against Ron DeSantis and the individual members of the new board, the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, which replaced Reedy Creek. So that's pending in federal court. Then you have a state court case, which is just the district itself, the new district and its board, the CFTOD, against Disney. Ron DeSantis is not part of that at all, as is proper. Now, the federal case, Disney alleges a slew of constitutional, and I'm using finger quotes here because they're all very questionable, and I've broken them down and given the issues with those as individual claims on my channel. You guys can check that out. But a bunch of constitutional claims trying to bring this into federal court, thinking they can get a better deal, a better case in federal court, and make a First Amendment argument, which is more sympathetic. However, because this is property law, and because special district law, real property law is quintessentially state law, it's probably the most state law you can get. It's the statest of state law. It really belongs in Florida court. So Disney was trying to dismiss the state case, which the district had brought. Well, that failed. They failed miserably. They got completely blown out of the water. They're going to be in state court. In fact, the judge said this should not be in federal court pretty much at all. This needs to be brought in and dealt with in state court. So you can expect a ruling from the federal judge soon that may be to either completely dismiss Disney's case that Disney filed, to partially dismiss it, or to go ahead on just the one charge that they may be able to proceed on as the state case goes ahead. But this is a huge L. And of course, Iger did not want to mention this, did not want to talk about this case, because right now it is not looking good for Disney. It is not looking like it's going to go in their direction. And they're going to be in a whole world of hurt because they are going to lose this exclusive control over development rights in Disney. They're also going to lose control over their own regulation of their buildings, of their inspections, of their fire support. All these things are roads, pavement. And on top of that, the new district just found a potential huge malfeasance, misappropriation of public funds. This is potential criminal acts here in the state of Florida. They said, hey, we're looking into this. We're investigating this. It seems like funds were misused. And they said funds were so misused, they were able to cut out that misuse, get rid of all the DEI stuff, and lower the tax rate for everybody in the district, which is how much abuse there was in that. And
that's
amazing. On top of that, here's the other thing they didn't talk about, and this ties directly into revenue. They said we're no longer going to bid out based on DEI. So this whole women and minority bidding, which they normally do, they normally say, okay, send in your bids to do road work, right? So we're going to organize them by lowest to highest, but we're also going to give extra points if you have women or people of color or rainbow people. That's gone. That they're throwing that out. It's not something that's mandated. It's not something you have to do. They're throwing that out. Why is this important? Well, guess what contractor won a lot of the district's contracts? Guess what organization and group? Oh, is it Disney and subsidiaries of Disney? Yes. In fact, millions of dollars were going to Disney every year to provide these services to the district. They might be bid out right now. So that might be revenue that slips out from the hands of Disney. So of course they don't want to talk about that, and they certainly don't want to talk about the costs that are going to go up in Disney World when they lose their case.
Well, Andrew, we've got 5,000, almost 6,000 viewers out there still with us. many of them probably don't know the practicality of what we're talking about here. It sounds a little bit esoteric.
Sure.
Can you break down in real terms how much money is on the line for Disney so that people understand just the gravity of this situation and why it would be so big that they're willing to talk about Hulu and spending 10 to 14% of their total corporate value on acquiring a third of a streaming platform that they already creatively control, but they don't want to talk about this issue that you've brought up, not a peep.
Yeah. Well, the point is that land and property is on a longer time scale. You're not thinking about 1-year acquisition or a 2-year acquisition or a 10-year acquisition. You're talking about having parks that are supposed to be around for half a century, another century, right? They're supposed to go into the future. And if you take this out 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, this cost, this loss of the district, this loss of control is going to force Disney to spend additional billions and then eventually trillions, because inflation will get us there, right, to those higher numbers, in additional costs for Disney. So this is stuff that's going to be aggregated out over the years. It is going to heavily cut into the profits of their most profitable business unit. So their profitable business unit is going to be cut and kind of kneecapped by some of these costs. So this is something that going forward is going to be a huge issue for Disney. So yes, billions, trillions in potential impact over the future decades.
What's interesting is in the past, on those Ron DeSantis issues specifically, they were talking about the billions of dollars that they were investing in Florida. They were trying to act like they weren't going to be investing in Florida there for a little while. They kept mentioning, oh, this project over here. Oh, this project that we're already going to cancel. We're going to blame Ron DeSantis for that. They waited for the opportunity to pretend like that was the reason that they weren't going to do the Lake Nona campus and things like that. On this call, there was a brief mention of working on the parks. That being said, Epcot has been a construction zone for like 6 years now.
Oh, so much we call it Walcott.
Ooh.
And people
Walcott,
are now
the paint is
going
chipping
around.
now.
Yeah, peeling off, flaking. It's a hot mess. Absolutely.
And they cut back on what they were planning to do. They were planning to do so much more for that. They're planning to redo. The Phoenicians are going to stay low budget. The conference center. No, they were planning to pimp the ride. Spaceship Earth was going to look pretty good, but not anymore. Have a huge conference center. Now it's pretty much a cardboard box. They've really cut back what they're planning to do with that guy.
And now I'm hearing that Spaceship Earth is a hot box.
Oh yeah, well, when I wrote it, the air conditioning was not working. But Andrew, let me ask you an in the weeds kind of question. This is the high level kind of analysis we look for here on the Valiant channel, my channel as well, Midnight's Edge, all of the channels in this orbit. But I'm curious. I was exploring some of the issues at the Walt Disney World Resort recently, and I came to find that a lot of the projects that Disney had been engaged in when Reedy Creek Improvement District was in place, that those are still in process, and that the company seems to be enforcing these RCID rules, protocols, etc. I'm going to give you an example specifically so that we get this into a particular, but particularly the crosswalk from Shades of Green to the Polynesian is being enforced that people cannot use it. Now, I don't see that the RCID still exists, and I don't see that the Disney company has the ability to enforce that. So can you walk us through who is in control of Disney right now if they are still attempting to enforce their old district that no longer exists?
Now, we'll be very fair. So technically, RCID, the Reedy Creek Improvement District, does not exist. However, there was a sunset period in which they were allowed to use the name. They're allowed to transition the name for purpose of winding down. It's similar to winding down a business. When you wind down a business, there's a certain period of time where it can use that for the purpose of winding down. So they are allowed to continue contracts that were entered into under the RCID name until the expiration of those agreements, and either redo those, either have them amended, or otherwise enter into a new, fresh agreement. So to be very fair to Disney, and I'm going to call it fair, they are allowed to use the RCID name. However, the implementation of these projects can now come under the scrutiny of the new district. The CFTOD can say, hey, look, are you guys actually, they can go out there and look at these projects, like check out that crosswalk and say, should we really be closing this? Is there an ADA issue here? Is there an access issue here? Do we need to guarantee access here because this is funded by public funds? And if it's funded by public funds, you actually need public access. This is a huge requirement. So if any public money goes into something, it becomes public. So the public needs to be able to traverse that. So what did they spend money on? This is something that the CFTOD, they have their work cut out for them because Disney's been spending this public money, these public bonds, the public funds for years with no oversight. This is a potential can of worms that is going to be a nightmare for Disney.
3 in the morning.
No, it's all good. It's 5:50 in the morning for me, so I am going to go to bed. But I just found out, and I got a great present right before I go to bed, that there is a reply brief in the federal case ready to dismiss Disney's case by the district. So I'm going to be reviewing that as soon as I wake up tomorrow morning.
Oh, fun.
So that's going to be fun stuff to break that down for you guys. So I'm going to do a full.
This is the federal case, not the state, right?
This is the federal case. So they
Federal
already
case.
lost. Yeah. Disney lost their attempt to dismiss the state case. Now they're flipping the script. Florida's like, oh, actually, F you. Going in the federal case are going to blow Disney out. Once that does, their narrative is destroyed, and they will absolutely get wrecked under Florida law. And I will just enjoy all of it.
Can't wait.
But I will go through all that tomorrow. These gifts keep on coming. They keep on coming. But it's always good to hang out with you guys. Valiant, Lorena Creole, Andre, good to see you. And Neurotic, good to see you as well. WW Pro. And I will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.
Enjoy the sunrise, Andrew.